What up, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Fencer Princer, SoundCloud, SoundClicks, your boy Tone 202, and I'm going to do a video. Actually, requested. Somebody requested this, and it's about Pat Tillman. And Alan Elliott, who is been talking to me on my channel, wanted to talk about Pat Tillman just to see what I thought. And I was going to do this tomorrow, but I'm up right now. I'm about to go to bed soon, though. And I had to, I was just going to do something patriotic about Pat, but, Alan was like, yo, there's more to it than, I have his comments right here. But, I was just going through them, and he was like, yo, I think there's something more to it. For one, I wanted to say, Alan, thank you for your service. He's a veteran. I'm also a veteran. And if you guys don't know, Pat Tillman was a veteran. He was a specialist in the Army. He was a Ranger. Well, basically, what he did was he played for the Cardinals. But the thing about Pat Tillman is this gets really, 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 really murky. Because let's get some backstory on me first. On me talking about the NFL is fixed. The reason why Alan came to me about this, he wanted to hear what I had to say, is because of my theory that the NFL didn't become fixed until around 2005. That's when the military paid the NFL to have a military presence. I don't know when Tillman played, but I don't think it was as late as 2005. I think he played after that, but nonetheless, uh, so the military had an influence, and I think that's when the game started getting even more fixed. It could have been fixed before that because Vegas always has something to do with it. But being that the military is now involved, the military is basically this is why people stand up with the hand over their heart. The military has been recruiting people to go to war, is pretty much what it is. They need bodies. So it's more patriotic uh, for everybody to stamp with the hand over their heart, for there to be jets flying over the Super Bowl, so on and so forth. So this is why Alan asked me this question about Pat Tillman. Now, I went and did some YouTube research on Pat Tillman and found out that his story, well, in a nutshell, him and his other Rangers were uh, okay. They were split up into two. They were told to be split up into two. They were going through this ravine, so they was going through this. There's a road here, hill here, hill here. Pat Tillman's group was on top of the hill. The other group was going under the hill. Was going through the ravine, and they were thinking they were about to get jumped. The sun was going down. Next thing you know, a mortar round hit. Another mortar round hit. They started firing, and pretty much they were firing on Pat Tillman and other people. One of them was an Iraqi soldier fighting with the American soldiers, and basically they shot Pat Tillman 3 times. His own team shot him. But what they tried to say is what they tried to sell to his mom and to his wife is he got out of a vehicle and they shot him once in the head. Then they touted him as this American hero and all this stuff that happened, and then the military had 7 investigations and tried to hide the whole thing, and it's all on YouTube. You guys need to look at it. And they tried to hide this whole thing to tell the real truth about Pat Tillman, and what it basically comes down to is I even have it where this lady said it. This gave me chills to hear what this woman said. Oh my goodness, this is scary. Let me see if I can get her to get this part.
She believes the Bush administration needed a heroic story to bolster support for the war.
Let's do it again.
Or what
But
information?
that's the point that everyone seems to miss. This isn't about us. It's about what they've done to the public. This was a public deception.
She believes the Bush administration needed a heroic story to bolster support for the war.
Boom. Now, there's a movie that was coming out, something about this. It was something about a soldier who did this whole heroic thing and it was all a lie. Listen, as a soldier who I've never been in the war, but my friend has been in the war. Uh, as a matter of fact, I got out right before we were both going to go to war, but his squad left. We were with Big Red One, and I'm gonna tell you something. He like I actually recorded his war story because he came back. I ran into him 20 years later. My boy Cross, and he told me what happened. He basically said once they jumped out of a C-141, I think, a couple hundred of them. He said they were firing at the C-141. He said one of his buddies stood up and got shot right in the head. So, and he said he had I think he had a 45, he had a 50, and he had a M16A2. And basically, he said it was just a cluster. He said they had to low crawl out of there. So what I'm saying is, in war, anything can happen, and and he said it was just mayhem. So when I'm looking at this story here, I'm thinking, and I'm listening to what these soldiers were saying. They were like, it was just total anarchy. We didn't know what was going on. But the truth is, what this woman is saying here, Pat Tillman was set up to die. Another thing is, when these soldiers are explaining what happened, there was an Iraqi soldier shot who was fighting for America, and Pat Tillman was shot. And they shot him 3 times. They shot him 3 times. Now, with an M16, you can shoot somebody 3 times real quick. But the thing about when Pat was shot, Pat was given he was getting given a ceasefire. He was doing this, which is a ceasefire. He was waving his hand, and he was screaming, and he was screaming his name, and he was telling the soldiers that he was an American soldier. He was pretty much saying, "Hey, yo, it's me, it's me, it's me." You know what I'm saying? Pat Tillman, ceasefire, ceasefire. But they kept firing on him, and the one soldier even said that. He said, "We just kept firing." They killed Pat on purpose for the reason of what his wife said. It's a deception of the American people. And for those of you who are going to come at me and say, "Oh, this is all nonsense, this is all bullcrap," well, guess what? Pat is dead. That's not nonsense. That's real. I think I think the NFL and the military did this. I think they needed an example. I think they did it on purpose. And what's the real scary part is Pat Tillman was deceived from the beginning. Listen, here's the thing about Pat Tillman. He was short and he was lightweight, and he played linebacker. Now, here's where I think Pat's mistake came in and he didn't even know it. Pat came into the NFL, and when he came into the NFL, he was actually going 100% all the time. He was hitting guys in practice and putting the helmet on guys in practice and starting fights, because he just wanted to prove himself. But the thing about Pat was that Pat would walk around with a book in his hand. They said he wasn't the average, player. He was very, very, very intelligent. Even Bill Belichick said that. He said, "I spent the day with him. The guy is highly intelligent." He walk around with a book. He had a way of propelling his body to make it seem like he was a Ray Lewis. But he was a lot smaller, than most people. And he just got out there and he was able to put the helmet on you. Because he could see the field different. He was an intelligent individual. Nonetheless, he broke a record for how many hits he got in a game. I think in a season, and that record still stands today. Pat Tillman was no joke, but that record is what got him noticed. That record right there. That's what got him noticed. You see where I'm going with this? He got noticed. It was his own undoing. He didn't even know. They set their sights on somebody because they wanted to, during that time, they wanted to make an example of somebody. And Pat got noticed. He did. The fans were talking about him. They were talking about him and Jake the Snake. He got noticed. His own efforts. And when he got noticed, he was convinced that he should protect his country. And he joined the service. And they killed him. Just like this woman said, it was the Bush administration. I'll play it again, just so you guys can hear, so you don't think it's me, because people been coming at me like I'm some kind of conspiracy theorist and I should be wearing a silver hat. And I came at that person and was just like, hey, I don't mind wearing a silver hat. Let's see what she...
She believes the Bush administration needed a heroic story to bolster support for the war.
To bolster support for the war. I'm telling you, they killed that man on purpose. Now, I was going to do something totally more, like, totally patriotic for this video. But when I heard this, I was like, I could see everything that these people are talking about. Now, mind you, the wife and the mother went and started investigating because they first told Pat that he was killed because his soldiers were on a ridge and he ran up the ridge firing and saved all his soldiers and he was killed. This is what they told her. And they were just like, and the wife was like, this sounds too hokey. It sounds too Hollywood. Something's not right. So they start investigating. And they did their own investigation, but there end up being 7 investigations to find out what they even think is the truth because they don't have the guy who actually shot him. They don't have the person who actually shot him. The military lied, and they tried to cover it up. And each person that gave a report lied. People, that's not an accident. They all lied. All of the soldiers lied. They even have a military guy, supposed to be a representative. This idiot, he's saying there was no cover-up when there was a cover-up. That's exactly what happens.
And grievous errors by the legions. And as a result, we fell short of our duty to her as the mother of one of our heroes.
If there was no effort to deceive, why wasn't she told right away that her son's death was being investigated as a possible friendly fire incident?
She should have been, and Army policy requires that she be notified right away. This was a classified mission, and the people in the operation mistakenly believed that they were not supposed to release any of the details of the investigation until the investigation was complete. They released it 35 days later. But we've had 7 investigations, and they have all concluded that there was no deceit, no intentional deceit, no cover-up.
Mary Tillman says each investigation revealed the flaws of the one before, and she chronicles her fight for answers in a new book, Boots on the Ground by Dusk.
It was all a lie. And we still don't know who shot Pat Tillman. They killed him on purpose. For the individual who asked me to do this, I don't know if, I'm sorry if this went a whole different direction, but I mean, in closing, my thoughts are they made an example out of Pat, and then they pumped him up to make him seem like he was this big hero when they just needed somebody to kill, and they set him up. Manchurian candidate type stuff. And as somebody in the military, I can and who has friends that were and still are in the military. I have a military family. My brother, my sister were all my father, military. We know it can go down, and friendly fire does happen. And there's usually a reason that friendly fire actually happened. I mean, there's usually something to say, okay, this happened because of this. But in this case, They don't want to tell the truth. They killed Pat on purpose. They killed him on purpose, and and I'm sorry for him and his family. I was gonna do this whole America the Beautiful thing, but this just pissed me off because this could have happened to me. It's your boy Tone 202. It's a ugly, ugly, ugly world out here, people. And your friends is your enemy, and your enemies could be your friends. Be careful, because America is not all of what it's cracked up to be. They will kill you to make themselves look a certain way, and that's just the truth. I mean, this is an American soldier we're talking about. This is a man who sacrificed everything. He was making $3.7 million in this in the service. He was doing okay for I mean in the playing football. He was doing okay for himself. I don't even think it was his own admission to go into the military. I think he was convinced by somebody else. I think somebody came to him and was just like, yo, you should go into the military. And he was probably like, why? And they was like, you should go into the military. And that was it. That was the whole conversation. That was a whole conversation. And he went in, gun ho. And then they put up this whole story about how he was this and how he was that. And listen, I'm not saying he wasn't a great guy. I'm saying he was probably too good of a guy. He was too great of a guy. He was a great guy. He was one of the best of us. That's what I'm saying. This is why he got targeted. That's what I'm saying. Yo, Pat, I'm sorry they did you like that, man. Sorry they did you like that, bro. It's your boy Tone 202.